Hello, it's Beth again, and welcome back to my cozy little book corner. First off, I would just like to say thank you to everyone who commented so positively on my first video. It really was exciting, guys. I don't know if I would have made another video without you guys' support. It was just so fantastic to see that I wasn't a complete and total failure, because after I got done doing it, I felt like it was almost a complete and total failure. So for today's video, I'm going to be doing my October wrap-up and November TBR. So I feel like I had a pretty good reading month in October. I think I read a total of 7 books, which isn't bad, but it isn't what I was hoping. I was hoping to read 10 books, but you know. So without further ado, I'll just get into it. The first book I read in October was The Huntress of Thornback Forest by Melina Dickerson. I don't know, I probably just really butchered that. This is a YA fairy tale of Robin Hood / the Swan Princess retelling, and it's about our main character Odette, who hunts and poaches in the King's Forest. She kills animals and then gives them to the poor to feed them, and it's about her and the new forester who comes in named Jorgen, who's trying to catch her. I give this book 3.5 stars. It was a very good book. It was a very solid read and I really did enjoy it. I just wish there would have been a little bit more Robin Hood to it because I really love the story of Robin Hood. Next thing I read in October was The Story Spinners by Becky Wallace. This one is about a girl who lives in a circus, and all she wants to do is be the circus story spinner, which is people who tell stories that are really entrancing, and all she wants to do is to take her father's place and be the story spinner. Well, her father ends up dying, and they end up getting kicked out of the circus. She's forced to work for this lord who owes her an honor debt. And there's these magical people called the Keepers who are hunting for the heir to this kingdom, but they're not the only ones doing it. There are other people hunting for the heir to the throne, and girls that look like the heir are showing up dead, and our main character Joanna happens to be one of them, and so she has to figure it all out before she becomes the next victim. I give this one a 4.5 out of 5 stars. It was a really good. The next book I read in October was The Thief by Megan Wallen Turner. This was a really good book. It's about a kid who claims that he's the best thief ever and he can steal anything. That's his boast, is that he can steal anything. Well, he ends up stealing the king's insignia ring and getting thrown in jail. Months later, the king comes to him with a proposition. He can work for him and earn his freedom by becoming the king's thief and stealing something. This was a really good book. I really enjoyed it. I gave it a 5 out of 5 stars. Next thing I read in November was Jupiter Pirates: Hunt for Hydra by Jason Fry. This is a sci-fi middle grade novel about these 3 kids who live on a spaceship with their parents, and they're privateers. Their job is to catch the enemy ships, and then they go and they return them to the people they work for a bounty. And they end up catching a ship, but the ship has a diplomatic immunity because it has a diplomat on it. But this diplomat was just made a diplomat, and they discovered that there's a bunch of other ships out there that have just made diplomats on them, and it's about them discovering and unraveling the mystery behind all the new diplomats and some other stuff that's going on. I give this book 3 stars out of 5. Next book I read was Alcobic's Tomb by M.L. Foreman. This is the 3rd book inside the Adventures Wanted series, which is a really great series. And this series follows a kid who discovers that there is a magical world they can get to, and they go on adventures. And it's kind of reads like a video game. It's really good, and I gave this one 4 out of 5 stars. The next book I read was Beyonders: A World Without Heroes by Brendan Mull. Now, this book, I have been reading this book for 2 years. It took me 2 years to complete it, and I finally did. And it wasn't that it was a bad book or that it was boring. It just, something about it just didn't really click with me. I just didn't really get into it. It just went through because I just didn't care about it that much. I mean, the story was okay, the characters are okay, and everything, but it just didn't really grab me and grip me and hold me and make me want to finish it. Really sad that I didn't like this book because just look at how cool this cover is. Look, it moves depending on where you are. It's really cool. This is a story about a kid who works at a zoo, and he gets called out of the zoo, down a hippopotamus, into a new world. It's a really weird way to get to a new world. And it's about a world where there is a evil wizard who rules over it, but there's a keyword that if you collect all the syllables, you can destroy his magic. And he's going about trying to collect the syllables, and if you write the syllables all down inside of a word, you'll forget them, and if you say it out loud, you'll forget them. So you have to collect each syllable separately and then put them together in your head and then keep them there until you're in his presence, and then you say the syllables and it will bring down his power. I gave this book 2 out of 5 stars. Last thing I read in October was Heartless by Marissa Myers. Now, guys, this book is evil. Watch out for maybe possible spoilers. I don't know. I don't try and give anything away, but it could be possible spoilers if you don't know how it's gonna end. But I don't know how you don't see this book's ending coming. It's kind of obvious, but just in case. You might want to skip until I'm done with this book. This book was evil. It reached into my chest, pulled out my heart, grabbed a dagger, and stabbed it a bazillion times. Then it tried to give it back to me, and I have to live with that pain. This book, for you those who don't know, this is an Alice in Wonderland retelling about the Queen of Hearts before she was the Queen of Hearts. And it follows her before Alice comes down and how her trail from a young woman to becoming the Queen of Hearts. And it is a very, very, very heart-wrenching story. It's not a happy, feel-good, and I'm a sucker for happy endings, but I still loved this book even though it didn't have what you say was a happy ending. I mean, I saw the ending coming, I knew how it was going to work, but I still, this still hurt me. I gave this book 4.5 stars out of 5 stars. It was just so good. I just wish it would have been a little bit happier. I mean, she could have made this book work as like a retelling where everything ends happily and Alice comes to a nice wonderland without the Queen of Hearts. She could have made it a happy ending, like a complete separate retelling where it doesn't even connect into Alice in Wonderland at all. It'd be like an alternate universe. She could have made it an alternate universe. Why? She have to kill us and break our hearts. She's kind of heartless. Okay, now that the wrap-up is done, it's time to get into my November TBR. So my November TBR is a little ambitious. I have a total of 10.5 books that I'm hoping to get through this month. They're all kind of tiny, but still it's a lot of books to get through. And the reason I say 11.5 is because I have a book that I'm currently reading and I started in October that I'm going to finish this month for sure. So since this video is already going to be so long, I'm just going to tell you the titles and the authors of the books because I don't like going into a description about books that I haven't read, so I don't really know what they're about. I can just tell you what's on the back, but I don't much care of doing that, so I'm just going to tell you guys the title and the author. First book I'm definitely going to finish this month because that's the one I've half read is Tournament of Goreland, Arranged to Printed Earlier Years by Jeff Manning. Second book I'm hoping to get to this month is Skylighters by Becky Willis, the second one to the Story Spinners. Next one I'm hoping to get to is The Little House in the Big Woods by Laura Ingalls Wilder. And I haven't read any of the Laura Ingalls Wilder books, and I figured it was time I fixed that. And also, my mother says this is a really good fall read, and as you can tell, it's my mother's copy. It's really beloved, like to the point that it's falling apart. But, you know, who doesn't like a well-loved book? The next book I'm hoping to get to in November is Scepters of the Ancients by Derek Lindy. No, the next book is The Blue Sword by Robin McCaley. I've heard great things about her books, and I'm really hoping that I like them. Next up is The Dangerous Days of Daniel X. The next book is The Great Hunt by Wendy Higgins. Siege and Storm by Leigh Bardugo. I read Shadow and Bone a couple months ago, and I don't know why I haven't got to this book yet. I really did like Shadow and Bones, so I'm hoping I really like this one too, and I just need to get to it. Next is The Shadow Throne by Jennifer A. Nelson. This is the third book in the Ascendants trilogy. I read the first 2 books, and I just need to get to the end one. Next up is Bloodlines by Claudia Gray. This book, I've been meaning to get to it for a long time. I want to read it before The Last Jedi comes out, and as you can see, that's next month, so I really need to get to this. Like, I've been meaning to read this for like the past 3 months, but hopefully I get this read before I go and see The Last Jedi, or else what am I doing with my life? And then last but definitely not least is Glassword by Victoria Aveyard. I read the first one a little while ago, a couple months ago, and I really liked it. I think this is one of those series though that you either really like or you really hate, and I definitely really like this series, so I'm really excited to be getting into this. So while I was editing the video, I realized that I forgot to film my outro like the dork I am, so this is my outro. Thanks for watching. I hope you like and subscribe, and see you next week.